Let's kick things off by talking about a habit that quietly destroys more trust and respect than almost anything else: gossip. You might think gossip is harmless, just a little fun, a way to pass the time or bond with friends. But the truth is, gossip is like a slow, silent poison. It seeps into your relationships, corroding trust one whisper at a time. Every time you talk about someone behind their back, you're not just revealing their story, you're revealing your character. Think about it. Have you ever sat with someone who spills secrets about another friend? Sure, you might laugh or nod politely, but deep down, a thought always lingers: if they talk like this about them, what do they say about me when I'm not around? That thought plants a seed of doubt that slowly grows into distance and guardedness. Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics taught us that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. Gossip is the exact opposite of that principle. It's easy. It's seductive. It feels like connection, but it's actually division dressed up as entertainment. And it doesn't just hurt the person being talked about. It burns you, too. Over time, people begin to pull away from you, not because they hate you, but because they fear you. They're afraid of being your next story. Your conversations become surface level, opportunities start to slip through your fingers, and you're left wondering why relationships feel so shallow. Imagine this: you're at work, and a colleague starts trash-talking another coworker. You feel included in the inside scoop, but later you find yourself worrying: are they saying the same about me to someone else? That worry is exactly why gossip is so toxic. It destroys the foundation of any real connection: trust. The Stoics believed that strength isn't just about physical endurance or mental toughness, it's about moral discipline. Resisting the urge to gossip shows self-control and integrity. Instead of adding fuel to a fire, you become the person who puts it out. Next time you're in a conversation that starts to veer into gossip, pause. You can steer the topic somewhere else, maybe to an inspiring project, a shared hobby, or something that uplifts instead of tears down. Or, simply say, I'd rather not talk about someone who isn't here to share their side. It might feel awkward at first. You might even risk losing some friends who thrive on drama. But over time, people will begin to see you as trustworthy, someone they can confide in without fear. And that's priceless. When you stop gossiping, you stop spending energy tearing others down and start investing that energy in building yourself up. You become stronger, more respected, and more at peace with yourself. So ask yourself, do I want to be the lighthouse that others can rely on, shining steadily no matter what? Or do I want to be the shifting tide, carrying harmful whispers from shore to shore? The choice is yours. And it's a choice that defines not just how others see you, but who you truly become. Part 1: Gossiping. Let's kick things off by talking about a habit that quietly destroys more trust and respect than almost anything else: gossip. You might think gossip is harmless, just a little fun, a way to pass the time or bond with friends. But the truth is, gossip is like a slow, silent poison. It seeps into your relationships, corroding trust one whisper at a time. Every time you talk about someone behind their back, you're not just revealing their story, you're revealing your character. Think about it. Have you ever sat with someone who spills secrets about another friend? Sure, you might laugh or nod politely, but deep down, a thought always lingers: if they talk like this about them, what do they say about me when I'm not around? That thought plants a seed of doubt that slowly grows into distance and guardedness. Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics taught us that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. Gossip is the exact opposite of that principle. It's easy. It's seductive. It feels like connection, but it's actually division dressed up as entertainment. And it doesn't just hurt the person being talked about. It burns you, too. Over time, people begin to pull away from you, not because they hate you, but because they fear you. They're afraid of being your next story. Your conversations become surface level, opportunities start to slip through your fingers, and you're left wondering why relationships feel so shallow. Imagine this: you're at work, and a colleague starts trash-talking another coworker. You feel included in the inside scoop, but later you find yourself worrying: are they saying the same about me to someone else? That worry is exactly why gossip is so toxic. It destroys the foundation of any real connection: trust. The Stoics believed that strength isn't just about physical endurance or mental toughness, it's about moral discipline. Resisting the urge to gossip shows self-control and integrity. Instead of adding fuel to a fire, you become the person who puts it out. Next time you're in a conversation that starts to veer into gossip, pause. You can steer the topic somewhere else, maybe to an inspiring project, a shared hobby, or something that uplifts instead of tears down. Or, simply say, I'd rather not talk about someone who isn't here to share their side. It might feel awkward at first. You might even risk losing some friends who thrive on drama. But over time, people will begin to see you as trustworthy, someone they can confide in without fear. And that's priceless. When you stop gossiping, you stop spending energy tearing others down and start investing that energy in building yourself up. You become stronger, more respected, and more at peace with yourself. So ask yourself, do I want to be the lighthouse that others can rely on, shining steadily no matter what? Or do I want to be the shifting tide, carrying harmful whispers from shore to shore? The choice is yours. And it's a choice that defines not just how others see you, but who you truly become. Part 2: Passive-aggressive behavior. Now, let's talk about a behavior that destroys respect and connection in an even more subtle way than gossip: passive-aggressive behavior. We all know that explosive anger can ruin relationships instantly. But what about that quiet, icy silence? The sarcastic, I'm fine, when you're clearly not? Or the little jabs hidden inside a joking tone? That's passive aggression, and it might seem harmless on the surface, but it slowly eats away at trust and intimacy like rust on metal. Let me ask you, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you were upset but didn't say anything directly? Instead, you gave your partner the cold shoulder, sighed loudly hoping they'd ask what's wrong, or dropped subtle hints instead of facing the problem head-on? We've all been there at some point. Maybe you grew up in an environment where expressing emotions directly was discouraged, or maybe you were taught to avoid conflict at all costs. You thought staying silent or using sarcasm was a safer option. But here's the harsh truth: while passive aggression might feel safer, it's actually one of the fastest ways to lose respect and destroy meaningful relationships. Imagine this scenario: John feels unappreciated by his partner. Instead of telling her directly, he starts acting distant, making sarcastic comments like, "Wow, must be nice to relax while I do everything around here," or he just avoids her altogether. At first, she's confused. Then, she feels frustrated and hurt. Over time, this silent resentment builds a wall between them, turning love into loneliness. This is exactly why Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Passive-aggressive behavior is essentially an attempt to avoid uncomfortable feelings. It's driven by fear, fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of vulnerability. We think, if I say how I really feel, I might get hurt. Better to make them guess. But what actually happens? You create tension, confusion, and emotional distance. Instead of solving the problem, you push the other person further away. Think about your own life for a moment. Have you lost friendships or romantic connections because someone, maybe even you, refused to talk openly about what was wrong? Maybe you expected them to just know why you were upset. When they didn't, you felt even more resentful. But here's the reality: no one can read your mind. We often believe that avoiding conflict prevents pain. But in reality, it only magnifies it. Small misunderstandings become big resentments. Minor annoyances turn into major grudges. The longer you avoid honest communication, the more the emotional gap grows. In the workplace, this dynamic is even more dangerous. Imagine you have a colleague who constantly underperforms. Instead of addressing it directly, you leave passive-aggressive notes, make sarcastic remarks during meetings, or intentionally exclude them from important emails. Does that help? No. It poisons team dynamics, creates unnecessary drama, and makes you look unprofessional and unreliable. A mature, respected leader handles issues directly. They don't drop hints or play mind games. They confront challenges with clarity and compassion. And that's what makes them respected, not just liked. The Stoics teach us that respect and trust are built on honesty and clarity. When you choose to be passive-aggressive, you send a message: I am not strong enough to handle discomfort. I'd rather play games than be real. That might feel safer, but it ultimately weakens you in the eyes of others, and worse, in your own eyes. Let's be honest, vulnerability is hard. Speaking up about how you feel takes courage. It means opening yourself up to possible rejection or criticism. But it's exactly this courage that builds deep, meaningful connections. So, how can we break free from passive aggression? First, practice pausing. Next time you feel tempted to make a sarcastic comment or give someone the silent treatment, stop. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling? What do I actually want to communicate? Second, choose direct communication. If your partner didn't help with the dishes and it upset you, say it calmly. I felt overwhelmed when I had to clean up alone tonight. Could we divide chores more evenly next time? It sounds simple, but this level of honesty is powerful. Third, be prepared for discomfort. Remember, honest conversations can be awkward and emotionally charged. But that discomfort is temporary, and it's far healthier than living in a permanent state of unspoken tension. Here's a personal example. Years ago, I used to avoid conflict like the plague. I thought keeping the peace meant staying silent. But all that did was create emotional distance and resentment in my relationships. The turning point came when I realized that avoiding discomfort was costing me the connections I valued most. When I finally started being honest, saying, I feel hurt, instead of, whatever, my relationships transformed. They became deeper, stronger, and built on genuine understanding. Imagine if everyone around you knew they could rely on you for the truth, even when it's difficult. Imagine being known as someone who doesn't hide behind sarcasm or cold silences, but instead faces challenges with strength and clarity. How much more respect and trust would you earn from your partner, your friends, your coworkers, even from yourself? As Epictetus said, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. When you justify passive-aggressive behavior, you block your own growth. You stay stuck in a loop of resentment instead of evolving into someone more resilient and authentic. Next time you feel that urge to drop a sarcastic text or ice someone out, try this instead. Write down exactly what you feel and why. Then, imagine saying it out loud directly. You might be surprised by how freeing it feels to speak the truth, even when it's scary. By replacing passive aggression with directness, you not only repair relationships, you also build a stronger sense of self-respect. And at the end of the day, self-respect is the foundation of all other respect. So ask yourself today, do I want to be remembered as someone who played emotional games, or as someone who was courageous enough to be honest? The choice is yours. And that choice shapes not just your relationships, but your entire life. Because ultimately, respect isn't given. It's earned, through small, courageous actions, one honest conversation at a time. Part 3, Never Taking Responsibility. Today, let's talk about a habit that silently destroys your reputation, ruins your opportunities, and prevents you from becoming the strong, respected person you're meant to be. It's something most of us have been guilty of at some point, and yet we often don't realize just how toxic it is. I'm talking about never taking responsibility. We live in a world where it's incredibly easy to point fingers. Didn't get that promotion? My boss is unfair. Lost a relationship? They didn't understand me. Missed a deadline? I had too much on my plate. We've all heard these excuses, maybe we've even used them ourselves. But every time we blame someone or something else, we give away a piece of our power. When you blame external factors, you're essentially saying, I'm not in control of my life. You become a victim of circumstance, rather than the creator of your own destiny. And let's be real, no one respects a victim mentality. Michael Jordan, widely regarded as one of the greatest athletes of all time, once said, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times, I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I have failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. Jordan didn't blame his teammates, the referees, or the weather. He didn't hide behind excuses or pity himself. Instead, he owned every single failure. He used them as fuel to grow stronger, to become better, and to ultimately build one of the most respected legacies in sports history. And it's not just in sports. Let's look at Jocko Willink, a former U.S. Navy SEAL commander and author of the powerful leadership book Extreme Ownership. During a combat mission in Iraq, a tragic friendly fire incident occurred, a situation that could have easily led to finger-pointing, deflection, and shattered trust. But Jocko didn't blame the fog of war, bad intelligence, or his subordinates. He stood up in front of his entire team and took full responsibility. This is my fault. I am the commander. I failed to ensure that everyone understood the mission clearly. Think about the level of courage that takes. Instead of losing respect, he earned more. His team trusted him even more deeply, knowing that he would never throw them under the bus. That act of extreme ownership transformed Jocko into a leader others would follow anywhere. It later became the foundation of his entire philosophy, that true leadership begins and ends with taking full responsibility. The Stoics captured this mindset perfectly. Seneca said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, it is because we do not dare that things are difficult." The essence here is clear: most obstacles are not as insurmountable as we think. It's our hesitation, our unwillingness to take responsibility and act, that makes them feel impossible. When you take responsibility, you reclaim your power. You shift from being a passive participant in your life to being the architect of your future. Instead of waiting for circumstances to change, you take action. And that's the ultimate path to respect, both from others and from yourself. But why is it so hard? Because admitting that you're responsible means admitting that you could have done better. It requires humility and vulnerability. It forces you to confront the uncomfortable reality that your mistakes and failures are yours to own. Yet, this is exactly where growth happens. When you own your mistakes, you open the door to learning from them. You develop resilience, adaptability, and a stronger sense of self-worth. You also send a clear message to everyone around you: I am someone you can count on. I don't hide. I don't run. I stand up and face my shortcomings head-on. Imagine for a moment if every time you fell short, instead of blaming traffic, bad luck, or other people, you said, "I didn't plan well enough. I need to improve my time management." Or, "I didn't communicate clearly enough. That's on me." How would your coworkers see you? Your friends? Your family? More importantly, how would you see yourself? When you consistently own your actions, people begin to view you as reliable and trustworthy. Opportunities start to flow toward you because you're seen as a problem solver, a leader. And let's face it, in today's world, true leadership is rare. It's easy to find someone to blame. It's rare to find someone who stands up and says, "This is my responsibility." I remember a project I worked on early in my career. We had a tight deadline, and midway through, things fell apart. A younger version of me wanted to blame everyone else: the slow approvals, the unresponsive team, the unexpected tech glitches. But instead, I decided to own it. I admitted to my boss and team that I should have anticipated these obstacles better, communicated more proactively, and built in extra time buffers. You know what happened? Instead of losing trust, I gained more. My team rallied behind me, and we fixed it together. That moment changed my entire approach to leadership and life. Now, you might be thinking, but what if it really wasn't my fault? Here's the powerful secret: even when circumstances are beyond your control, you always control your response. You might not control the weather, but you control whether you bring an umbrella. You might not control your boss's decisions, but you control how you prepare, adapt, and communicate. Taking responsibility doesn't mean self-blame or beating yourself up. It means owning your piece of the puzzle and focusing on what you can do better next time. This mindset shift is liberating. It turns setbacks into lessons, failures into stepping stones, and challenges into opportunities for growth. It's not about being perfect, it's about being accountable. So ask yourself right now, where in your life are you avoiding responsibility? Where are you still pointing fingers when you could be asking, what can I do differently? Maybe it's in your career, where you feel stuck and blame your boss or the market instead of developing new skills or seeking new opportunities. Maybe it's in your relationships, where you blame your partner for the lack of intimacy instead of reflecting on how you communicate and show love. Start small. Next time something doesn't go your way, pause. Before blaming anyone or anything, ask yourself, what part did I play in this? What can I learn? This simple practice, repeated over time, transforms you. It builds self-respect, and that radiates outward. You become someone others respect naturally, not because you demand it, but because you embody it. At the end of the day, respect isn't about perfection. It's about authenticity, courage, and accountability. The most respected people aren't those who never make mistakes, they're the ones who own them, learn from them, and come back stronger. Imagine a world where more people practiced this. Workplaces would be more supportive, families would be more understanding, and communities would be stronger. And it all starts with you. So, will you choose to keep giving your power away by blaming others? Or will you take it back and step into the person you're capable of becoming? Remember, the choice is always yours. And it's in these small, everyday moments of ownership that you shape not only your reputation but your entire destiny. Part 4: Lack of Basic Hygiene. Let's get real for a second. We can talk all day about mindset, discipline, and high-level personal growth. But sometimes, respect, both for yourself and from others, starts with the simplest things. And one of the most overlooked, yet powerful habits that can instantly destroy or elevate your respect is basic hygiene. Yeah, I know. It might sound obvious, almost too basic to talk about. But hear me out. Poor hygiene isn't just about smelling bad or looking messy. It's a silent message you send to the world, and that message is, I don't value myself enough to take care of me. And I don't value you enough to show up at my best. Have you ever walked into a room where someone's hair was greasy, their clothes wrinkled, maybe they hadn't brushed their teeth? You probably felt uncomfortable, even if you didn't say it out loud. You might have kept your distance or found it hard to focus on what they were saying. The truth is, we're all wired to make snap judgments about people based on appearance. It's part of human psychology. We can't help it. When someone looks clean, put together, and well-groomed, our brain instantly interprets them as competent, confident, and trustworthy. On the flip side, when someone neglects their hygiene, it signals chaos, low self-respect, and even a lack of reliability. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And I believe your outer appearance also gets dyed by your inner state. The way you take care of your body reflects the state of your mind. Think about it, if your mind is cluttered, you might neglect your environment. You might let dishes pile up, skip workouts, and put off basic self-care. But when your mind is clear and disciplined, you naturally want your space, your clothes, and your body to reflect that same clarity. Let me tell you a quick story. Years ago, I was working with a talented designer. He was brilliant at his craft, creative, innovative, had incredible ideas. But there was a problem. He always showed up to meetings disheveled, wearing stained shirts, with unkempt hair. Clients started to question his professionalism, no matter how good his work was. Eventually, he lost a big contract simply because the client didn't trust that he could deliver at a high standard consistently. That might sound harsh, but it's the reality. People decide whether to trust and respect you before you even open your mouth. Your appearance is the first handshake. And this isn't about vanity or shallow judgments. It's about respect, for yourself, and for those around you. When you take time to shower, wear clean clothes, and keep yourself well-groomed, you're saying, I care enough to show up at my best. I respect you enough not to bring my chaos into your space. Have you ever noticed how differently you feel after a fresh haircut or wearing a new outfit? You stand taller. You speak more confidently. You feel unstoppable. That's because self-care boosts your self-esteem and changes how you move through the world. Let's break it down practically. What does good hygiene actually mean? Daily showers seems obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people skip it when they're working from home or feeling down. Clean clothes, not just worn once, but actually clean and fresh. Wrinkle-free if possible. Oral hygiene, brush your teeth, floss, and use mouthwash. Your smile is one of your greatest assets. Hair and nails, keep them tidy. You don't need a fancy style, just clean and intentional. Scent, use deodorant. A light cologne or perfume can be great, but don't overdo it. Now, some people might say, I shouldn't have to look a certain way to be respected. And in a perfect world, maybe that would be true. But the reality is, we live in a society where first impressions matter, a lot. You might have the greatest ideas, the deepest wisdom, and the kindest heart, but if you neglect your appearance, many people won't stick around long enough to discover it. This isn't about trying to be someone you're not. It's about aligning your outer world with your inner values. If you value discipline, show it in how you dress and carry yourself. If you value respect, start by respecting yourself enough to present your best self to the world. There's also a deeper, almost spiritual side to this. The Stoics believed in mastering the small things as a way to prepare for bigger challenges. By mastering something as simple as hygiene, you train your mind in discipline and consistency. You learn to honor commitments, even the small ones, like the promise to take care of yourself every day. Imagine how different your day feels when you start with a fresh shower, put on a well-fitted shirt, and look in the mirror feeling proud. You walk out the door with a sense of quiet confidence. People pick up on that energy. I've seen countless clients and friends transform their lives by simply improving their hygiene and style. One client told me, "I thought my depression was unfixable, but starting to care for myself physically made me feel human again." Another said, "My boss started giving me more responsibility because I finally looked like I could handle it." It's not magic. It's self-respect, reflected in small daily actions. Now, let's take this further. Ask yourself, what message am I sending to the world through my appearance? Do I look like someone who values themselves? Do I look like someone who others can trust and rely on? If the answer is no, don't beat yourself up. Start small. Upgrade one thing at a time. Maybe it's washing your favorite shirt more often, getting a fresh haircut, or simply taking 5 extra minutes in the morning to check yourself in the mirror before you leave. Remember, you don't need to wear designer clothes or spend hours getting ready. You just need to show care and intention. Respect isn't demanded. It's earned, through how we act, speak, and yes, how we present ourselves. When you take care of the basics, you're building a foundation for everything else: your career, your relationships, your sense of purpose. So the next time you feel unmotivated to shower or throw on the same old stained t-shirt, pause. Ask yourself, what version of me do I want to put into the world today? Because the truth is, when you start valuing the small, practical habits, you set the stage for bigger changes. You teach your mind to follow through, to honor commitments, and to embody discipline, even in the simplest ways. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In the same way, you have power over how you show up. No one else decides that for you. So, will you choose to present yourself as the strong, confident, disciplined person you want to be? Or will you let neglect speak louder than your words ever could? The choice is yours. And that choice, as simple as it may seem, can completely transform how the world sees you, and more importantly, how you see yourself. Part 5: Constant Complaining. Now let's dive into one of the sneakiest, most self-destructive habits that kills respect faster than almost anything else: constant complaining. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever spent time with someone who complains non-stop? At first, you might feel a bit of sympathy for them, maybe you even try to help. But eventually, their endless negativity starts to drain your energy. You feel heavy, discouraged, and maybe even a little hopeless after being around them. Here's the brutal truth: complaining does not solve problems. It doesn't make your boss any nicer, your partner more attentive, or traffic any faster. What it does do is broadcast one loud message to the world: I have no control over my life, and I don't want to change it, I just want to talk about it. And let's be honest, nobody respects that. The Stoics taught us something incredibly powerful: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. What does that mean? It means we can't always choose what happens to us. The economy might crash, a loved one might hurt us, we might lose a job, but we can always choose how we respond. Complaining is a reaction that gives away our power. It turns us into passive victims instead of active creators of our lives. I remember a friend of mine, let's call him Mark. Mark used to complain about everything: his job, the weather, his relationships. At first, I tried to help, offering advice and support. But after a while, I realized he didn't actually want to fix anything, he just wanted to vent. And soon, I found myself avoiding his calls. People don't gravitate toward complainers. Why? Because negativity is contagious. The more you surround yourself with complaints, whether they're your own or someone else's, the more you start to see the world through a lens of scarcity and victimhood. Now, imagine if you flipped that habit on its head. Instead of complaining, you either take action or you accept the situation. That's it. Those are your only two options. If you can change it, act. If you can't, accept it. Sounds simple, but this small shift is life-changing. Let's take an example. You hate your job. You can either take steps to improve your performance and move up. Find a new job. Start building a side hustle. Or accept that, for now, this is what supports your bills and focus on making the most of it. What's the one thing that won't help? Complaining about it every day at lunch with your coworkers. Or maybe you're upset that your partner never listens. You can communicate directly and honestly. Go to couples therapy. Decide if this relationship aligns with your needs and values. Or accept that they won't change and decide what that means for your life. Complaining, he never listens, does absolutely nothing but fuel resentment and weaken the relationship further. When you complain, you train your mind to look for problems rather than solutions. You reinforce the belief that you're powerless, and soon, that belief seeps into every area of your life. On the other hand, when you practice taking action or accepting, you become stronger, more grounded, and more respected. People start to see you as someone who can handle life's challenges, someone they can rely on when things get tough. It's not about pretending that everything is perfect or ignoring real problems. It's about taking ownership of what you can control and letting go of what you can't. Let me share a quick story. During a particularly stressful period in my life, I caught myself complaining constantly, about work, about money, about not having enough time. I thought I was processing my feelings, but really, I was just spreading negativity. One day, a close friend said to me, "You know, I used to love talking to you because you were so positive and inspiring. Now, every time we talk, I feel drained." That hit me hard. I realized I wasn't helping myself or anyone else by staying stuck in that loop. So I decided to experiment. For 30 days, I challenged myself to either act on my frustrations or accept them fully without complaining. If something bothered me and I couldn't change it, I practiced gratitude or looked for the lesson instead. The results? My mindset shifted completely. I felt lighter, more focused, and, surprise, my relationships improved dramatically. My friend even told me, "It feels like I got the old you back." This doesn't mean you never express negative emotions. But there's a big difference between processing an emotion constructively, like journaling, talking to a therapist, or calmly expressing your needs, and habitual complaining. One empowers you, the other drains you. So, how can you start breaking this habit? Keycap 1: Awareness. Catch yourself. The moment you hear yourself complaining, pause and ask, "Is this something I can change? If yes, what action can I take? If not, how can I accept it?" Keycap 2: Gratitude. Shift your focus. Instead of, "I hate my tiny apartment," try, "I'm grateful I have a roof over my head while I work towards something better." Keycap 3: Solution orientation. Make it a rule: if you bring up a problem, bring up at least one possible solution with it. Keycap 4: Surroundings. Be mindful of the people you hang around. Spend time with doers, not complainers. Positivity and action-oriented energy are just as contagious as negativity. When you adopt this mindset, you don't just gain more respect from others, you gain self-respect. You feel empowered, capable, and confident in your ability to handle whatever life throws your way. Respect isn't built through endless words about how unfair life is. It's built through resilience, through showing up, through choosing to act rather than complain. The next time you're tempted to vent about traffic, your boss, or your partner, stop. Ask yourself, what can I do about this? Can I leave earlier? Can I communicate better? Can I change my approach? Or, if nothing can be done, can I accept this and move forward without letting it poison my mood? Remember, your mind is your most powerful tool. Train it to see challenges as opportunities rather than setbacks. So, ask yourself today, do I want to be known as the person who always has a problem but never a solution? Or as the person who handles challenges with grace and determination? The choice is yours. And that choice will define the level of respect you earn from the world and, more importantly, from yourself. Part 6: Being chronically late. Today, let's talk about a habit that might seem small on the surface, but actually speaks volumes about your character and can single-handedly destroy the respect people have for you: being chronically late. Now, I get it, life is busy. We all have unexpected traffic, last-minute calls, or mornings that just don't go as planned. But there's a big difference between the occasional slip-up and making lateness a part of your identity. When you're consistently late, whether it's to work, a meeting, a dinner with friends, or even a quick coffee catch-up, you're sending a silent but powerful message: my time is more valuable than yours. Think about that for a second. Every time you show up late, you're telling the other person that their schedule, their commitments, and their life matter less than yours. And trust me, people notice. In fact, lateness chips away at trust faster than you might think. People start to doubt your reliability. They question your discipline and wonder whether they can count on you for bigger responsibilities or opportunities. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." What does that mean when it comes to time? It means showing respect not just in your words, but in your actions. And nothing embodies that respect more clearly than honoring someone else's time. I once heard a story about a CEO who was famous for his zero-tolerance policy on lateness. One day, during a high-stakes meeting with senior executives, a few people strolled in 5 minutes late. The CEO stood up, closed his notebook, and simply said, "Time is the most valuable resource we have. If you can't respect that, you can't be on this team." Then he left the room. That story might sound harsh, but there's a deeper truth in it: time is the one resource we can never get back. Money lost can be earned again. Opportunities missed might circle back around. But a wasted minute? That's gone forever. When you make punctuality a non-negotiable standard for yourself, you're making a statement: I value my time and yours. You can trust me to show up, be present, and follow through. But why are so many people consistently late? Sometimes it's poor planning, underestimating how long it actually takes to get ready or commute. Other times, it's overcommitting, saying yes to too many things and spreading yourself too thin. And sometimes, deep down, it's a subtle act of control or self-importance. We subconsciously believe the world should wait for us. Whatever the reason, the impact is the same: you weaken your reputation and lose respect from the people around you. So, how do we fix this? First, be honest with yourself. Are you late because you're genuinely overwhelmed or because you're disorganized? Are you prioritizing the wrong things? Are you trying to squeeze too much into too little time? Next, change your relationship with time. If you know it takes 30 minutes to get somewhere, plan for 45. Expect delays. Build buffers. Treat time management as an act of discipline, because it is. I love the saying, early is on time. On time is late. Late is unacceptable. When you arrive early, you give yourself space to breathe, to prepare mentally, and to show up fully present. You're not rushing in, frazzled, apologizing, and scattering your energy. Instead, you're grounded, calm, and ready. Years ago, I used to be that person who was always 5 or 10 minutes late. I'd blame traffic, my phone, or whatever convenient excuse I could find. But over time, I noticed something: people started planning around my lateness. They didn't take my commitments seriously. And worst of all, I didn't respect myself enough to change. Then one day, I missed an important meeting with a potential client. They waited for 15 minutes, then left. That opportunity, one that could have changed my career, vanished forever. That was my wake-up call. From that day forward, I decided to treat time like the precious currency it truly is. I started blocking time in my calendar more realistically. I began leaving earlier than I thought necessary. I stopped overcommitting to things I couldn't genuinely fit into my day. And most importantly, I stopped making excuses. The result? Not only did my relationships improve, but my self-respect skyrocketed. People started trusting me more. Opportunities flowed more naturally. And I felt a deeper sense of integrity, like I was finally living up to the person I said I wanted to be. This change isn't just about being on time. It's about becoming the type of person who honors their word and commitments. Because punctuality isn't a small detail, it's a reflection of your entire character. It tells people whether you're reliable, thoughtful, and disciplined. And it shows whether you truly respect them and yourself. So, here's my challenge to you. Start seeing time as your most precious resource. Identify where you're slipping and why. Choose to be early, not just on time. Practice saying no to things that will make you rush or be late. And above all, hold yourself accountable. At the end of the day, people don't remember every word you say. But they always remember how you made them feel. When you show up late, they feel undervalued. When you show up early and prepared, they feel important and respected. Ask yourself, what message do I want to send to the people in my life? That they matter? That I'm dependable? That I can be trusted with bigger things? The answer lies in your actions, and it starts with something as simple as showing up on time. Remember, the habits we practice daily become the foundation of our character. You don't build respect by demanding it, you build it by living it, moment by moment, meeting by meeting, day by day. So next time you're tempted to hit snooze or tell yourself, it's okay, they'll wait, think again. Because every minute you're late is a minute you're chipping away at the trust and respect you've worked so hard to build. Be the person who shows up, not just physically, but fully, respectfully, and ready. That's the person who commands respect without ever having to ask for it. Part 7, Making Excuses. Let's get real about a habit that silently kills growth, destroys trust, and blocks us from reaching our potential: making excuses. We've all done it. Maybe you blamed the weather for skipping your workout. Maybe you told yourself you didn't have enough time to start that side project. Maybe you pointed fingers at your boss, your family, or your circumstances for why you're not where you want to be. At first, making excuses feels safe. It protects our ego. It keeps us from facing the uncomfortable truth that maybe, just maybe, we're the ones standing in our own way. But here's the thing: excuses might protect your ego in the short term, but they destroy your potential in the long run. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, put it perfectly: a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. What does that mean for us? Growth requires friction. It requires challenges, mistakes, setbacks, and, most importantly, accountability. When you make excuses, you avoid that friction. You avoid the work. And by doing that, you avoid growth. I want you to think about a time when you set a big goal for yourself. Maybe it was losing weight, starting a business, or learning a new skill. Now, be honest, how many times did you let yourself off the hook with excuses? How many times did you say, "I'm too tired today," or "I'll start next week," or "I don't have the right resources"? Every excuse is a tiny betrayal of your future self. And here's the worst part: excuses don't just affect you. They affect how the world sees you. When you consistently make excuses, people start to see you as unreliable. You become that person, the one who always has a reason why they can't deliver, can't show up, can't be counted on. And once that reputation sticks, it's incredibly hard to shake. Imagine working with a colleague who always blames the team, the software, or the client for missed deadlines. How much respect do you have for them? Would you trust them with a big project? Probably not. On the flip side, think about someone you know who owns their mistakes, learns from them, and comes back stronger every time. That's the person who earns your respect, your trust, and your loyalty. I remember early in my career, I was working on a major campaign that ended up flopping. My first instinct? Blame the market conditions, blame the data, blame my team. But my mentor sat me down and said something that changed everything: you can make excuses, or you can make progress. You can't do both. That hit me hard. From that day forward, I decided to own my failures as fiercely as I own my successes. And guess what? Not only did I start to grow faster, but people also started to see me differently. My credibility shot up. My opportunities multiplied. And my self-respect soared. So, how do we break the habit of making excuses? First, embrace radical self-honesty. This means looking in the mirror and asking, what part did I play in this? Even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it stings. Second, replace blame with learning. Instead of saying, "It wasn't my fault," ask, "What can I learn from this? What will I do differently next time?" Third, take small, consistent action. Excuses often thrive in the gap between intention and action. The longer you wait, the more reasons your mind will invent to avoid the discomfort. By taking immediate, small steps, you build momentum and shrink the space for excuses to grow. Fourth, surround yourself with people who hold you accountable. Join a community, find a mentor, or partner up with a friend who challenges you to own your commitments and push past your comfort zone. You see, accountability is like a mirror. It reflects who you really are, not who you pretend to be. And while it can feel harsh, it's one of the most powerful tools for personal growth. Let's flip the script. Imagine living in a world where no one made excuses. Where every person took full ownership of their words, their actions, and their results. Workplaces would be more efficient. Relationships would be stronger and more authentic. Communities would be built on trust rather than blame. And guess what? You can start that ripple effect today. Ask yourself right now, what's one area of my life where I've been making excuses? Where am I playing small and blaming external factors instead of taking charge? Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your career. Maybe it's your relationships. Whatever it is, start today. Take one concrete action, sign up for that class, make that difficult phone call, start that savings plan. Do something that future you will thank you for. Because here's the ultimate truth, you can't build a strong, respected life on a foundation of excuses. You build it on a foundation of ownership, learning, and relentless action. When you start owning your choices, people around you will notice. They'll start trusting you more. You'll become the go-to person, the reliable friend, the dependable colleague. And beyond what others think, you'll feel a deep sense of pride and inner strength that no amount of external praise can replace. At the end of the day, life will always throw challenges your way. There will always be reasons to justify why something didn't work out. But you get to choose whether to lean on those reasons or rise above them. So, next time you catch yourself making an excuse, stop. Take a deep breath. Replace it with a question, what can I do about this right now? It might be uncomfortable. It might require more effort. But it's the only path that leads to real growth, real respect, and real freedom. Remember, every gem was once just a rough stone. It only became valuable because of pressure, friction, and the willingness to be shaped and refined. You are no different. So, will you keep polishing yourself through the trials, or will you stay hidden behind excuses, never discovering your true potential? The choice is yours. And it's a choice you get to make, not just once, but every single day.
Conclusion. Habits that build respect. So we've just walked through the 7 habits that destroy respect, from gossiping, to making excuses, to being late. But let's not end on a negative note. Because here's the truth. While certain habits can destroy respect in seconds, there are also powerful habits you can adopt today that build deep, lasting respect. Not just from others, but most importantly, from yourself. Let's break them down, one by one. First up, self-control. In a world that constantly pushes us toward instant gratification, whether it's the temptation of junk food, endless scrolling, or snapping back in anger, self-control is a superpower. It's about choosing reason over impulse, long-term goals over short-term pleasure. When you can walk away from an argument instead of saying something you'll regret, when you choose to save instead of splurge, when you get up early to work on your dream instead of hitting snooze, you're not just building discipline. You're telling yourself and everyone around you, I'm in charge of my life. Next, active listening. How many of us truly listen? Most people are just waiting for their turn to speak, but active listening is different. It's about being fully present, hearing not just the words, but the emotions and intentions behind them. When you listen this way, you make people feel valued and understood. You build trust, deepen relationships, and open doors to opportunities you didn't even know existed. Ask yourself, when was the last time I really listened to someone without interrupting or judging? Then we have gratitude. It's easy to focus on what we don't have, the job we want, the car we can't afford, the relationship that isn't perfect. But gratitude shifts your focus to what's already good. When you regularly express gratitude, you create a positive ripple effect. You become a magnet for good energy, and people love to be around that. A simple thank you, a note of appreciation, or a moment of reflection each morning can completely change how you show up in the world. Consistency in action is another key pillar. We all know people who talk a big game but never follow through. Their words and actions don't match, and over time, you stop believing them. On the flip side, there are those who do exactly what they say, no matter how small the promise. They show up on time, keep their word, and act with integrity even when no one is watching. That kind of consistency builds an unshakable foundation of respect and trust. Taking care of your health might seem unrelated, but it's deeply connected. When you take care of your body, you're sending a clear message. I respect myself enough to prioritize my well-being. A strong, healthy body supports a strong, resilient mind. It gives you the energy to chase your goals, support your loved ones, and handle life's inevitable challenges. And people notice. You become a living example of self-respect and self-discipline, which inspires those around you to do the same. Cultivating wisdom is another powerful habit. Wisdom isn't about knowing all the answers. It's about being open to learning, reflecting on your experiences, and seeing beyond the surface. It's what allows you to navigate life's storms with calm and clarity. People naturally respect those who think before they act, who offer thoughtful insights instead of empty opinions. When you make learning and reflection a lifelong practice, you become a lighthouse in a sea of noise. Then there's encouraging others. We live in a world that often pits us against each other. But the truth is, when you lift others up, you rise too. Supporting your friends' dreams, celebrating their wins, and standing by them during their losses doesn't diminish your light. It multiplies it. It shows that you're not just focused on yourself, but on building a community where everyone can thrive. Adaptability is another trait that earns respect. Life will never go exactly as planned. Rigid people break under pressure, but adaptable people bend and grow stronger. Adaptability doesn't mean compromising your core values. It means being flexible in your approach, learning from setbacks, and adjusting as needed without losing your integrity. Think of the leaders you admire most. They're often the ones who stayed true to their vision but weren't afraid to pivot when challenges arose. That kind of resilience makes people trust and respect you more deeply. Finally, helping others without expecting anything in return. This is perhaps the purest way to build respect. We live in a world where so many interactions are transactional. I'll do this for you if you do that for me. But when you help someone simply because you can, whether it's mentoring a colleague, volunteering your time, or lending a listening ear, you show true character. People remember those who showed up for them without a hidden agenda, and that kind of authentic connection is what leaves a lasting legacy. So, if you want to build a life that commands respect, not just from strangers, but from the people who matter most, and from yourself, focus on these habits. Practice self-control. Listen deeply. Express gratitude. Be consistent. Take care of your health. Keep learning. Support others. Stay adaptable. And give selflessly. These aren't just feel-good ideas. They're daily practices that slowly, steadily, and powerfully transform you from the inside out. Imagine this. What if, a year from now, you look back and realize you've become someone your younger self would admire, someone your friends trust deeply, someone your family is proud of, someone you're genuinely proud to be? That journey starts with one choice, one habit, one moment of courage at a time. So ask yourself today, which of these habits can I start working on right now? Which small step can I take to move closer to the person I truly want to be? Because at the end of the day, respect isn't something you can demand or buy. It's something you build. One decision, one action, one day at a time.